guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kayla and this is Reading with Kayla, and today I'm going to basically tell you why I decided to DNF Little Fires Everywhere. Maybe I should move over a little bit. Okay, so Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I hated this book. I really did not like this book. And it's unfortunate because a friend at work, her name's Liz, she let me borrow it. She read it and she said she loved it and she really thought I was gonna like it. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I've heard a lot about this book. If you can hear things, it's my dogs, I'm sorry. They're outside my door and they're being a pain. Celeste Ng, right? I've never read anything by her, but I've heard about this book, and I think I've heard of other books by her as well, and so I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm probably gonna like this. You know, I've heard a lot of people have read it, so I thought it was gonna be good. So I got a third of the way through the book, and then I put it down. I just had to. I just couldn't read it anymore. And actually, I had been reading it for a long time. I think it was around 2 weeks or over 2 weeks that she had given me the book, and it was very slow getting into it, and it's not the usual kind of book that I tend to read, and I really despised it. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit, why I decided to DNF it. But first, I'm going to read the back of it. And my dumb self, she gave me her copy of the book, and I gave it back to her before I did my video, so I could be holding it right now, but I didn't think about that. I'm going to read you the synopsis. I'm going to read you what it's about. That way, if you've never heard of this book, you can get an idea of what it's about. Okay, so this is what it says. In Shaker Heights, a placid, progressive suburb of Cleveland, everything is planned, from the layout of the winding roads, to the colors of the houses, to the successful lives its residents will go on to lead. And no one embodies this spirit more than Elena Richardson, whose guiding principle is playing by the rules. Enter Mia Warren, an enigmatic artist and single mother, who arrives in this idyllic bubble with her teenage daughter Pearl and rents a house from the Richardsons. Soon, Mia and Pearl become more than tenants. All 4 Richardson children are drawn to the mother-daughter pair, but Mia carries with her a mysterious past and a disregard for the status quo that threatens to upend this carefully ordered community. When old family friends of the Richardsons attempt to adopt a Chinese-American baby, a custody battle erupts that dramatically divides the town and puts Mia and Elena on opposing sides. Suspicious of Mia and her motives, Elena is determined to uncover the secrets in Mia's past, but her obsession will come at unexpected and devastating costs. Little Fires Everywhere explores the weight of secrets, the nature of art and identity, and the ferocious pull of motherhood, and the danger of believing that following the rules can avert disaster. So, that's what it's about, okay? And I guess this might appeal to many people, but honestly, I never would have picked up this book on my own. When I read that, it's just not my cup of tea. It's usually, I mean, there's just this, okay, first of all, the motherhood angle, right? I'm not a mother. I don't want to be a mother. I'm never going to be a mother. And so that kind of topic tends to not draw me as much. And if it does, it has to be in a different way. So I honestly didn't think this was anything about motherhood when I first started reading it. So I ended up DNFing this book. And I really, really wanted to finish it, but it got to a point where I just couldn't. And I don't like DNFing books, but I won't finish something if I really don't like it. And I ended up really not liking this book. So in the beginning, it was fine. You know, I was reading it. It was weird. It was different. It wasn't really my thing. And mostly it's because of almost everything about the book, honestly. So from here on out, if you're not wanting to know any spoilers, you might want to stop watching. I went ahead and where I stopped was like 34% into the book, so about a third of the way through. And I was like, I'm done. I cannot read this anymore. But I did still kind of want to know what happened, what was the big secrets or whatever, and what made this book so popular. So I went ahead and I like researched it, and I read basically like a very, very quick version of the book. And so I'm probably going to talk a little bit about that as well. So one of the things I really did not like about this book, and something I don't really like about books in general, is the setting of this book, okay? The setting of this book is something that does not appeal to me at all. I don't enjoy books that take place in suburbia, but like upper class suburbia, you know, people who are very well off, people who are very, like, the whole idea of this town being like perfect and everything's planned and everybody who's in this town follows the sets of rules, and there's like, okay, you know, you do this, this, and this, and there's just so much like I don't know, just the rules. It feels very stiff. It feels very forced, fake, and very Stepford almost. Like, I just don't like stories like that. I really don't. I don't enjoy those settings. I don't enjoy learning about this lifestyle. And that's a lot what this was. Plus, there was this tone to the book. So there was this like dark, moody, slightly disturbing tone to the book, which made the mood all the worse, which I really was not enjoying. And to be honest, of the characters, I didn't like any of the characters, and there are many. And another thing that I really did not like about this book is the fact that there is no clear protagonist. There's no clear person who you're supposed to root for, who you like, who you want to be on their side. And even if you don't like them, there's not even a main person that is your protagonist. Because this book is written in, I think it's third person omniscient. And it's for me, it's too far away from the characters, from the characters. So it just, I don't know, there were times it was almost like the characters, their stories, their thoughts and beliefs and stuff was spread very thin. And so we would get little bits and pieces. Even within like one chapter, you would get a little bit about, you know, Elena Richardson, and a little bit about her thoughts or her motivations behind this, and this. And then it would flip to one of her children, or it would flip to Mia, or it flipped to Pearl, and it was kind of the same thing. And so of the third of the book, of the 34% that I read, I didn't like any one person. It made me feel very distant to the book, to the characters. Like, I had no connection to them. I had no desire to know any more about them at all. So that was a big issue, okay? The other thing is that the characters themselves. And I understand, like, after reading basically the Cliff Notes of this book, I understand what the book is about, what it's supposed to be about. I understand it's supposed to be kind of controversial. It is a kind of harsh, critical look on people like this. And so I get it. I mean, I get it. But I don't like it. I didn't like it, and I didn't want to finish it at all. It's not my cup of tea. It's just not. And a big part were the characters. So the characters, I just felt like overall this book showcased a very, very critical and cynical aspect of humanity. And it was just ugly, you know? These people, each one of them, they were just selfish, very selfish, self-absorbed. There was fake, manipulative, you know, they would manipulate each other just to get what they wanted, and the mistakes that followed or the horrible things that happened because of it. People had their own agendas. It was just, there was nothing kind, nothing beautiful. There was nothing that moved me it was just this, oh, like I hated it. I hated reading about these people. I hated, you know, reading about how shallow they were and how, like, just so selfish and just, it's a very unpleasant place to be. And I mean, and I also really did not connect with Pearl. Pearl is the teenage daughter of Mia, and Mia and Pearl are different, right? They're completely different because they're her mom Mia is a struggling artist, so they barely have enough money to get by. I mean, barely. And then the Richardsons are quite well off. And Pearl is like obsessed with this family. She's enthralled. She loves being by them. She wants to be like them. She fantasizes about them adopting her and stuff like that. And I just cannot relate to that. And I really don't like people who pine over somebody else's life, or like who seriously envies, and where it's kind of almost all consuming, and they don't really look at the positives in their own lives, and they don't see the negatives in the life that they're coveting, you know. And it's like, yes, I know, like, Pearl's a teenager, you know, I get that, I do, but I just could not, it was frustrating. I just was like, I don't like these people in real life. I would not like these people in real life. I don't like people who do that, who kind of are obsessed with other people's lives, wanting to be like them or something like that. I can't relate to that. I don't like that. And I think most of it, honestly, is just, and I understand, like, the book, I guess a big part of it when I was reading, like, the summaries and all this other stuff after I decided to DNF it, there was some good, like, they said that, like, the book was about manipulation, and it was about altruism, and how, you know, many of the characters try to do something nice or out of the kindness of their heart, but it's really not. It's more to serve their own agenda. But when there is a time where they are doing something altruistic that is kind, it can oftentimes bring terrible results and stuff. And so, I mean, I get the point, you know. I understand what the author's doing, and maybe a lot of people liked this, you know. I think this is just a matter of preference, honestly, because it's just one of those things. Like, I don't like reading about these kinds of people. I don't like reading this setting. I really don't find much appeal in the perfect suburbia Stepford stuff. I just don't like that. I don't. Because to me, it's inauthentic and it's not real, and it's trying to be something you're not, and I don't like that. So I don't like the mood, I don't like the setting, I don't like the characters, and I had some issues with the content of what happens. So the reason why I stopped reading it, so I was reading it, right, and I kept pushing through, but it got to a point where I was getting really, really frustrated and irritated because I started to not care. I was just trying to push through, and I wanted to care, but, like, then they were talking about, you know, somebody's past, and I just didn't care. I didn't care about any of these characters, and I was like, I do not want to read this. I could force myself to read it, but I won't enjoy it, and I had already had it for like 2 weeks, and I was just like, I cannot do this, you know? So yeah, so I DNF'd it, and then I did a bunch of research because I wanted to know what happened, right? So basically, what I gather is that there's I feel like the biggest issue with this book, or in this book, is this idea of motherhood, the right to have a baby, the right to raise a baby. So basically, there's this couple, and the McCulloughs, I think, and they are white, and they live in Shaker Heights, and they are in the process of adopting this Chinese American baby. They've had this baby for months, and they're in the process of adopting it, right? Well, Mia hears about this, and it kind of clicks something in her head, and she realizes that her coworker, she works at like a Chinese restaurant, I think, one of her coworkers recently dropped off a baby at like a fire station, I think, for like, you know, like giving up her baby, but nobody knew who that baby belonged to. So she put 2 and 2 together, and she realized that that baby is her coworker's. So she talks to her coworker, and she basically kind of, I think, I don't know, but based on the summaries I read and stuff, she kind of convinces her to take back her kid, or to fight for her kid, to get her back, even though she gave up her baby. So she does. And then this big, huge legal battle ensues, and I guess the media is involved in it. And because of this, it's kind of, you know, caused big issues within the Richardson family and with the relationship between the Richardsons and Mia and Pearl. And so it's this big, huge thing. And in the meantime, you know, I guess there is this mystery around Mia herself. And Elena Richardson is trying to figure it out. And I guess she does. And I guess what happened is, way back in the day, when Mia was very young, she was an artist. She's always been an artist. But she was at art school, and then she couldn't afford art school anymore. And this random guy on a train kind of like basically propositions her to be him and his wife's surrogate, because his wife was born without a uterus, and they want a baby so bad, and she looked a lot like his wife, and that's why it kind of like struck him. And so he picked her, and after some thought, she decided to do it. And they were going to pay her a very good amount of, a hefty sum of money to give them her baby. So basically, I guess what happened is they inseminated her several times at their own house with a turkey baster, and using his semen, and eventually she got pregnant, right? And she carried that baby almost to full term, and then her brother died, and it kind of threw her life in chaos, and then she realized she didn't want to give up this baby. So she lied to them and said that she lost the baby, like miscarried, and then she took off. But the truth is she did not lose this baby. She decided to keep it. So before all of this, though, I didn't know all those details. When I was researching, all it said was she was a surrogate, she was gonna give them this baby, and then she decided not to, and she ran. And I was like, whoa, I have a huge problem with this, you know? I'm like, that is not cool, because I wasn't sure. I'm like, was it the wife's egg, the man's sperm, and she's just like the oven, you know? If that's the case, that is so wrong, like morally wrong. Like, how can you take someone's baby, right? But then I found out it wasn't her egg. It wasn't the wife's egg. It was Mia's egg. So Mia's own egg, this guy's sperm, you know? So for me, that made it a little less like, what the hell, you know? But it's still a very controversial decision, you know? And I didn't, again, I don't like that. I don't like that kind of deceit. I don't like reading about deceit like that. Deceit that is selfish, kind of, that is so bad that you run basically for your whole life. And that's what she's doing. And she's also, I mean, she moves around like every so many months, or every like once a year or something, and she's constantly moving her daughter around. And so her daughter has had this very like nomadic life, no roots, you know. She could never foster any kind of real friendships or anything like that, because her mom was dragging her around the country. And part of it was because of her mom's lifestyle and the fact that she's an artist and stuff like that. But another part is that she's running. You know, she doesn't want to be caught. She doesn't want her daughter taken away from her. And there's just a real, like, selfishness that I don't like that, because of what you're putting her through, you know? But at the same time, it's like, that's her baby. It actually is half her baby. Even though she originally agreed that it wasn't gonna be her baby, you know, she was gonna give it to a couple. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of morality issues there, and so I can see that this author, you know, this was a big part of the book, wanting to kind of have this conversation, you know, because this is controversial. These kind of moral gray areas, you know, like everybody's gonna feel different about this. Everyone's gonna have a different opinion, and so it's definitely a conversation piece, you know. If people liked this book, it'll probably be fun to talk about, but I hated it. And then I think the ending too, there was kind of a, I don't know, it's not, like I said, it's not my cup of tea. I didn't like it, and I'm really glad I didn't finish it, because once I found out like what the rest of it was going to be about and stuff like that, I realized like, oh, I'm not going to like this. I would have hated it, and no, it just, I didn't like it. And another thing I didn't like was also the way it was written. So I kind of mentioned a little bit how it's a very distant kind of novel, like it's omniscient, so you're in everybody's head at some point, but there's a very palpable distance between the reader and the characters. It feels like that. It feels like I'm looking through several like panes of glass at these people, you know? I don't know, it's really hard to explain, but they just feel very far away from me. And also there were some times where I really didn't like the way things were described or written. I mean, she definitely has her own voice. I can feel her own voice, which is cool. It's cool to have your own voice. But, and maybe this is purposeful, but there were some things that were disturbing and kind of icky, just the way something was written. And believe me, I'm a true crime person, and I love disturbing stuff, and if it's done in a certain way, and this way it didn't feel right. It felt gross. I don't know, it's really hard to explain. I took some notes on this book. Oh, okay, so this quote, okay, this is a disturbing quote. It says, "Then Pearl had reached out one timid finger and traced a vine in the wallpaper, and Lexi had felt a warm gush of pity for her, the sad little mouse." I was like, ugh, what? That is disgusting. It's very visceral. That's what a lot of her, not a lot, but there are times in her writing where there's just these certain words that are used in ways that are just gross or not right. So when I hear warm gush, I'm not gonna lie, I think of being on your period, because that's what it feels like sometimes, is you're gushing blood. Sometimes it feels like a warm gush of blood, which is gross, right? But to say that you're watching somebody trace the outline of a vine on a piece of wallpaper and you feel a warm gush of pity for this person, the sad little mouse. Like, what? Like, that's so disturbing, and I did not like it. And it's things like that, it's wordings like that that just, ugh, again, I just didn't like it. There is this graphic, you know, feeling to some of the descriptions that I couldn't do it. Yeah, so I mean, I guess, and another way I said it is I just don't like reading about characters that are so unlikable. There wasn't one character that was likable. What else did I say? The book kind of covered little bits of a bunch of people, so I didn't feel emotionally invested in any of them. So, like, Moody is a puppy dog with a crush, but he has no balls to do anything about it. Pearl is easily glamored into thinking how great the Richardsons are and how wonderful their life is, but it is so not. Trip is your typical arrogant teenage boy. Lexi is self-absorbed and manipulative. Mrs. Richardson is a control freak, perfect and not nice to her daughter Izzy, and she's pretty much just a lump on a log. Mia is distant and drags her daughter all around the country and barely takes care of her. I mean, barely takes care of her. Her priorities are in question to me, right? Everyone just seems so damn selfish, and I don't like reading books with such a bleak look on life. I don't like reading about rich families that try to be so damn perfect, but there's nothing perfect about them at all. I'm so glad I didn't finish it. I hated the voice. I hated the gloomy way things were described. Sometimes it was weird descriptions. It just showed such an ugly side of humanity, and there was no beauty in the book. Nothing good. So, yeah, I mean, that's exactly how I felt about this book. I didn't like it. But I also did something interesting. So I am a part of a Facebook group called Bookaholics. Ooh, okay. I think that's what it's called. Bookaholics, okay? So it's this Facebook group, and it's all, everybody who's in it is like major book lovers, readers, all this stuff, right? And people ask all kinds of questions, and people comment and stuff, so I decided to ask this question. So I said, Little Fires Everywhere. What did you think about it? I hated it, but I want to see what other people thought. And after a gazillion comments, I can't even tell how many there are, there's a lot, I feel like most of the comments, people didn't like it. People, either they didn't like it, they thought it was they thought it was okay, they thought it was boring, they thought it was predictable. A lot of people said the show is way better than the book. There were a few people, though, who did like it, who did enjoy it, but based on this group, it seemed like the majority didn't like it, and I'm kind of glad that I wasn't the only one, because, I mean, you know, who wants to be the only one who hates something? I don't. I wish I could tell how many comments this whole post got. So 88 comments. There's 88 comments, and so, I mean, I just thought it was interesting, and some of the things these people said, like, I'll just read a couple. One of those rare occasions where I liked the show better than the book. Wasn't a fan. Hated it. 1 star. I didn't care for it. Loved the TV show. I've been reading it for a year now. LOL. I thought that it was just okay. It was just okay for me. Not good, but not bad either. I did not love it at all. The show was actually much better than the book, and I never say that. A few people said, like, I loved it. This one said, I thought it was way overhyped. I kept reading because I thought it's got to get better, but it didn't. Disappointed. Love the TV show. I didn't care for it. This person said I liked it. I loathed this book. Meh. This person said I ended up really liking it. Only a few episodes into the show, though. This other person said I really liked it. This person said didn't love the book. I watched 2 episodes of the show and really didn't like it. This other person, it was okay. Predictable, though. So, I mean, some people liked it, some people don't. So that is why I DNF'd Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. And I didn't like it. But it is a conversation piece, and I am curious if you liked this book or if you didn't. What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What do you disagree with me on or agree with me on or whatever? I just love talking about books. So even though I didn't enjoy this book, it's still very fun for me to talk about it. It's fun for me to engage with others, and I want to hear what other people say, you know? So yeah, that is all for this video. I hope you liked it. If you loved this book, I apologize. I'm not trying to hate on it. I'm not trying to, I just didn't like it. But yeah, so like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. What did I do with my phone? Is it over here? Oh, yes. There's something in my eyeball, which is making me crazy. Maybe I should probably go get that out of my eye.